There's no meaningful development that can happen without peace, without us being united.
Arrest all unregistered vehicles.
I think we have shown the depth and breadth of talent in our Conservative Party.
Because you want to prevent.
All right, thank you so much for still staying with us. It's Straight Talk right here on Bright Television, of talk and entertainment. Well, don't forget that the program is basically designed to look deep into issues that affect Nigeria as a country and Nigerians as citizens. My guest joins me on the program this morning. Now, Nigeria is blessed with human and capital resources. In fact, material resources are also part of what Nigeria is blessed with. And this country is begging for to be harvested by purposeful and, of course, creative and innovative leadership. Have we gotten this right as a country? What are the challenges we're facing in getting the leadership structures right? Do we have bad leadership, or do we still have the great ones? What are the things we should consider to have a better Nigeria through our leadership? This is what we'll be focusing on. And to do justice to that on this program this morning, well, he's a concerned Nigerian, a leadership expert, or I should also say a consultant based in Abuja. He's a doctor, and it's glad to have him on the program. Dr. Joseph C. IBEKWE. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Ayo, for inviting me.
Well, I know apart from being a leadership consultant and expert, you're also a journalist, so I can come from any angle now
Thank
to
you very much.
discuss this
Yes,
conversation.
yes.
But for you, leadership has been a big deal. Even in the history, we have great leaders that history will never forget in the world, in Nigeria too. Have we gotten leadership right in this country?
Thank you very much. That's a very hard one to ask. And is the question, the answer is obvious. Obvious in the sense that we know we've not got it right. And we've not got it right not because it is not possible to get it right. We've not got it right because we have not decided to get it right.
We have not decided to get it right.
Yes. Because if before I came here, I decided to come here. And I found my way here. In the same way, if you know where you want to go, what to do, you prepare yourself to get there. So if Nigeria wants to really develop, it means it would have thought about what it takes to develop and find what the people that will drive that development. Leadership is what drives development. Leadership or leaders are the ones who drive development. So how do you get discipline? Nigeria has not got it right because it has refused to do the first principles.
And what is the first principle?
First, decide that leadership is your challenge. You have not got it right because you've not got the right leadership. Then how do you do to get right leadership? Begin to prepare. You prepare people for leadership.
I want to assume that probably,
Yes.
if you don't have an understanding of something,
Yes.
you might not get it right.
Yes.
Is it that we don't understand what leadership is? Or let me just put it to you. What exactly is leadership that we need that is the right one?
Well, leadership, I'm not going to talk about it in terms of definition of leadership. I don't want to get into the theoretical dimensions of it. I want to talk about the practical dimensions of this thing.
Yes.
It's about knowing what is right and doing what is right. Having the capacity, the willingness to do what is right. That's what it is.
The capacity, the willingness to do
To do what is right. And the value system to do what is right. Three things are here. The knowing that this is right, knowing what is right.
the capacity.
Having the capacity to do what is right. The willingness to do what is right. And the value system that supports what is right.
The value system that supports
What is right.
Now, I want us to break it down.
Yeah, that's it.
Because I know Nigerians, we're at this point in our country, in our history, that we must get it right.
Yes, sure.
2023 is sacrosanct, and of course, February 25th is very important and
Yes.
delicate. We must get it right. Now, knowing what is right, the capacity, the value, are critical things, the factors that we must consider, the key
Yes.
factors we
Yes.
must consider. As a Nigerian, how do I know this person is right for me and is capable and he has the will to do it? We've heard people
Nigeria has a constitution.
Which there are different stories.
Yes. Nigeria has a constitution.
Okay.
And in that constitution, there are what we call national values. There are national values ingrained in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Equity, justice, fairness, all those nice, they are there. When people want to come into public space to say they want to be leaders, you check those values. Place those people against those values. Have they represented those values over the years? Have they demonstrated those values over the years? If they have not demonstrated it, then they are not qualified to be able to lead. Because your nation is going to be led by the values that you espouse. You cannot espouse a different value system and you bring people that do not admit or practice or demonstrate the value system to come and lead you. So you can't get it. So what we have done is that we have our values enshrined in our constitution, we call national values, but we bring people that don't demonstrate those values to come and lead us. That's just where it is. So it doesn't work.
So you cannot expect to get the results when you don't have the right pegs.
That's it. That's why it's not working.
Interesting. Well, Nigerians are watching and the question is, now we are at this turning point. We must get it right.
Absolutely.
We must get the facts right. Now, for you, I know many people have said lack of leadership, and bad governance as been part of the problem we have in Nigeria.
Yes.
And of course, I think you admit to that. Corruption is also very close to bad leadership. How do we separate all this?
The truth of the matter is that corruption is not a problem. Corruption is a symptom of bad leadership.
A symptom?
Yes,
one of those symptoms?
It's one of the symptoms.
Okay.
Because see, when you say corruption, and in this part of the world, immediately you mention corruption, people think in terms of financial corruptions. But that is just an aspect. There's political corruption. There's a moral corruption.
Moral corruption.
All these are issues. And this is boiled down to what I talked about, the values that the nation espouses that are ingrained in our constitution. There are values in those places. Do we demonstrate those values? Do we teach those values? Do we practice them? Do we measure people who want to serve in the public based on those values that are enshrined in our constitution? If we don't value people, when somebody has, let's say, use issue of corruption in terms of money, somebody has been in a public office and he used public office to enrich himself, and it's against our national values not to convert public property into private. Somebody has done that and you see it and everybody sees it, and you still want that person to come and serve the public. Does it make sense? I don't understand it.
There was a term used by late Professor Ayobami, and of course good people, great nation.
Yeah.
It's a slogan that really carries a lot of weight. If you look deep into it, good people, great nation. Now it starts with you. It starts with
Yes.
For citizens, for leadership, for Nigeria, we've always blamed we don't have
Good leaders,
this and that. Now you're talking about values. Does that also probably rub on the followers too?
The followers have their challenge. But everything, like John Maxwell, the American leadership consultant, would say, everything rises and falls on leadership.
So leadership carries everything.
Leadership provides the vision. Leadership promotes the values. Leadership demonstrates the values. Leadership, shows the way. What leadership does, the people follow. That's the way it works.
What the leadership
does, the people follow.
So
and when the people don't follow, the leadership, because the leadership is doing the right thing, the leadership can now force the people, as it were, to now do the right thing.
Now, what makes a leader a leader? Now, if the followers don't have too much to do about leadership, what makes a leader a leader?
Good. The thing is that leadership is taken from the people. And that's why I said that Nigerians have not decided to know what to do. Because there's a preparation, there is selection, and there is deployment. You prepare people for leadership. For instance, give you a practical illustration. We run leadership training for school prefects in secondary schools. Why do we do that? We believe that and the truth of the matter is that people who are prefects in secondary school, 80% of them, when they go to university, get involved in students' union politics. And those who eventually get involved in student union politics come out in society, become politicians and all of that. So if you understand that this is a trajectory, you begin to train these people, expose them to all the dynamics, the theory the practice, the values that are associated with leadership. From there, they imbibe it. It's a growth, it's a trajectory. Now, when they get there, because they have been taught, they begin to demonstrate it. They begin to practice it. But until you understand the way it works, you will not be. You just pick somebody from the streets, say, go and lead us. What is he going to do? You can't give to society what you don't have. So what I'm trying to explain is that there is a preparation. We know that we need leaders to serve in the public space in the next 20 years. We need politicians, we need presidents, we need governors, we need legislators. What preparations are we making for those people ahead of time? We don't do that. There's no preparation.
So we don't grow them.
We don't grow them. We don't prepare them. We don't train them.
What happened? Why did we?
Is what I'm saying, because Nigeria has not taught in that.
I really want to ask this question.
Yes, please.
Now, since Nigeria became independent, 1960, even before the independence, we had colonial masters and, of course, different, pre-colonial era until this period that we have. A lot of leadership, a lot of leaders, a lot of era has been part of the history of Nigeria. Have we ever gotten it right for once?
The reason the two main reasons we have not gotten it because the lens at which we look at leadership is on two lenses.
Okay.
Tribe and religion. Quality leadership has nothing to do with tribe. Quality leadership has nothing to do with religion. Quality leadership is neutral. It's gender neutral, it's tribal neutral, it's religious neutral. Because the values that sustain leadership is not because I'm a Christian that what makes me a good leader or will make me a good leader. Because I'm a Muslim, it's not what makes me a good leader. Because this studio that we are in now has nothing to do whether you're a Muslim or a Christian. The issue is that there are lighting systems that are here and they're working. People have to work them. So if you don't know it, you don't know it. What we have done is to select leadership based from the lens of either tribe or religion. Removing your eyes from capacity, competence, and values. Now, I keep referring to values because we have a constitution. I'm not talking about values in your church or your mosque. I'm talking about the ones we have already agreed that is in the constitution. What are those values? Do we measure people who want to come to public space? When I say public space, those who want to lead us, do we measure them, assess them, evaluate them based on those values? Do they meet up? Those are the things. Because if I say value, you may think I'm talking about Christian values or Islamic values or values of the traditional religion. No, there are values we've agreed which are in our constitution, which is the ground norm, as the lawyers will say it, that guys are moving. So if people want to say, I want to be a legislator, I want to be in the federal government, I want to be whatever place it is, let's take a look at you. Your yesterday, your today. Have you lived your life based on these values? If not, we'll put you aside.
Really, it's interesting, and of course, a lot of questions are just coming into my head now to see how we can actually get a profound solution to the challenge that we face. It's a big one. Problems of bad leadership in our country, Nigeria. We must get it right. Now, where do we start from? Now when we identify, okay, we don't have, we've not injected this value, from the grassroots training the student. How do we start? In this country, Nigeria, we've seen, in fact, just a few months ago, students were out of school, asked to strike, many strikes here and there. We've seen, students being kept. Education as a sector has been suffering so much in our country, Nigeria. So how do we get it? Are we getting it from the home base, or we are getting it into the school or the society? Where do we start from together?
It's a holistic thing. It's not taking from here and leave. It's a holistic. Leadership is your life. Without good leadership, there's no governance. Governance is simply a product of leadership. What you see is a product of leadership. And leadership begins with somebody. And as I said, you can't give to society, to public space, what you don't have. When somebody is, as a governor, for instance, does not value education or allows the students not to be in school, it means the person himself does not value education, because you can't give to people what you don't have or what you don't value. The fact that you allow students to be on on strike, or lecturers to be on strike for what means that you don't even know that this is a generation, that you're destroying your own people. Because without human capacity development, you can't do nothing. You can build infrastructure, physical infrastructure from here till 1,000 years. If the human beings are not trained to manage and
trained to manage.
Yes, trained to manage, they will destroy it. So it is building human infrastructure that sustains physical infrastructure. And people who don't understand how human infrastructure sustains physical infrastructure give their attention to building physical infrastructure and telling me you're building physical. Yes, good physical infrastructure, but it is human beings that run, manage, sustain those physical infrastructures. What I'm saying, therefore, is that leadership basically is 85% intellectual development or mental development and 15% physical exertion.
But I want you to hold your thoughts there, because
Yes.
we're due for a break now.
Yes.
And when we return, we'll be looking at lots of parts of the coin now, lots of the side of the coin now. Many questions are coming in. Many people are asking. We've seen Nigerians go out of this country under a good leadership, or a country that has a good leadership, and they obey the laws there. When they come back to this country, Nigeria, they say, "This is Nigeria. We are built differently." What exactly will be the problem? What has been the problem? After this break, you will react to that. Let's go for this short break. When we return, we'll continue on this conversation. Stay with us, please.
Tell you for a fact that this election is between.
They sold farm recently for 100 million.
There's no meaningful development that can happen without peace, without us being united.
Tell you for a fact that this election is between.
They sold farm recently for 100 million.
There's no meaningful development.
Usually of talk and entertainment. Before the break, my guest has been discussing leadership structure and how to tackle and have effective leadership in our country. Period. Dr. Joseph C. IBEKWE, Abuja-based leadership consultant. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you again.
All right. Before we had the break, I just gave a little background of what I'll be asking immediately when we return from the break. We've seen, I've met a lot of people. They go out of the country and they obey common laws there. For example, traffic lights. Everybody will comply, obey. If you ask them to have a queue, be on this particular queue, they must do that. A lot of examples to give. But when they come back to our country, Nigeria, they say, "This is Nigeria. This country, no, don't worry, na Nigeria we did," according to like the language they have on the street. How explain it to me? How did we get it wrong?
What they're saying is that welcome to a lawless environment. That's what they're saying.
That's what it means.
Yeah, that's what it means. Welcome to a law, and Nigeria is a lawless environment. Not that we don't have laws, but it's a lawless environment. Why do I say so? You see, why do we have leaders? Leaders are people who provide example, who demonstrate what ought to be. We have leaders here who are lawbreakers.
Lawbreakers.
What we call leaders here are actually lawbreakers.
How do you mean lawbreakers? We've seen a lot of people elected.
We call them lawbreakers because they make the laws, they know the laws, but they are the first to break them. For instance, you talk about queue, be in a queue. What does it mean to be in a queue? Wait for your turn. But those who are leaders don't wait for their turn. They have a entitlement mentality that when they come in, everything should clear for them. Is it an entitlement mentality? The people we call leaders live with an entitlement mentality. Societies talk about rule of law. What does rule of law mean? That means there are laws that guiding the behavior of people in a social milieu, social environment. Those laws are for everybody. Now, if those laws are for some people and not for others, you create a lawless environment. For instance, there's a traffic light is for everyone driving to see it and obey it. If, for instance, Mr. President or the governor breaks traffic lights indiscriminately, what stops me from breaking it? Unless you tell me it is written that traffic laws are not meant for them, then it's understandable. But as long as it is not written or established that traffic rules are not meant for them, if you tell us it is not meant for them, we can excuse it. But as long as those laws are meant for everyone, they are therefore bound to obey it. And if they obey or disobey it, why should I obey it? Do you now see why I say we leave? When those people come back and don't do these things, they are saying welcome to a lawless environment. Because those people who are supposed to provide leadership, provide example, we are taught that example is better than what? Precept. You can say something, if you cannot demonstrate it, you have wasted your time. So our leaders don't do what they say. And because they don't do what they say, when they say, the people say they are joking. If you don't do, why should I do it? So that's the problem.
A really deep one, because I'm just trying to picture a country like Nigeria where we'll have a president that will also obey traffic law.
Yeah.
A president that will also be on the queue.
Yeah.
Not for political reasons.
No,
not because they want
that
to
is what is right.
But because they know this is what is right. So I want to imagine how a citizen, I won't call it a common citizen, a citizen will not obey such law. Interesting indeed. But let's look at, a country like Nigeria is blessed. Like in my introduction, I talked about, the human resources, the material resources, in fact, capital resources. We are not supposed to be borrowing at this point with all the blessings that God has endowed us with as a country, Nigeria. We still have in our dailies, yesterday, marketers are saying that if subsidies have been removed, we'll be buying fuel at the rate of 800 per litre. Just today, many people are also complaining, saying that in some areas, fuel are being sold at the rate of 300 and something per litre as we speak today. Now, that is a country blessed with crude oil. And we have a president that is also the Minister of Petroleum. And he has been there since years. Leadership, are we getting this right? How do you react to this?
You see, we are going back to say the same thing.
We're not going back to say the same thing because I want us to point
these
this
things
particular
are
structure.
A product of lack of capacity.
Lack of capacity.
Lack of capacity, both intellectual capacity and moral capacity. Because you need to understand, look, why is it that we don't have fuel for our citizens? Because the leadership lacks moral capacity to do what is right. They know what is right. We talk about crude oil stealing. Who steals it? Is it me? It's those in government that steal crude oil. I don't know those in government. They know themselves. So when these truths are made, those who you select or we elect to lead us are not going there to lead the people. They are going there to take care of themselves. It's unfortunate. But why should fuel, for instance, sell for 1,000 naira or 500 naira? You talk about fuel subsidy. Why should you subsidize fuel? And why should fuel not be produced? Questions. For 8 years, no new refineries has come up.
Well, Dangote's one is about.
Well, Dangote refinery is fantastic. It's a private initiative. If Dangote as a private citizen can set up a refinery, why is it difficult for government to set up a refinery? Or why is it difficult for other people also to have the license and have the environment? Because you see, it is one thing to have the license, but to have the environment, the laws, to loosen up the laws to allow other people to do business. The laws that promote business here are not competitive. They are skewed towards profiting some people and making other people come down. That's the environment that we live. It's a lawless environment. It's a complex environment because every issue here is seen from two lenses, as I said. Lens of tribe, lens of religion. Not lens of competence and lens of national development. Once you bring lens of competence and lens of national development, Nigeria will move forward. That is why we are where we are. We keep running in circle. You can't get out of it. You can't get out of it.
It's a circle.
It's a circle. Once you have a leader, for instance, who sees the whole nation as his constituency, sees that the North needs to move forward, the East needs to move forward. There are potentials in all sectors of this country. But who is going to lose those potentials? Who is going to harness them? Some areas are deliberately held down for fear.
But do you see us, have a good turning point in this election come 2023? I mean, 25th of February.
Well, there could be a turning point if the people, you see, lack of political education is the worst thing that can happen to society. People who are politically illiterate or uneducated is even worse than academic education. Yes. Lack of political education is worse than academic education. Someone doesn't have to go to school to succeed. Going to school is important. Yeah. But you see, somebody who is politically illiterate will select an armed robber to lead him. Will select a corrupt person to lead him. Will select a wicked person to lead him. But if you're politically enlightened, you will know that this person is corrupt. And because he's corrupt, his corruption will weigh down on what is going to happen to you. Because politics affects everything about our life. Politics affects the quality of air I breathe. Yes. Quality affects the kind of food I eat. Politics affects the even where I live.
The
policy maker. So if I don't participate in politics, that means I'm not politically educated to know the kind of person I need to vote for. I will end up voting the wrong person who will make my life to run in circles. What do I mean by that? Therefore, 2023 election is not just about electing a person. It's about, based on those grand values that are in our constitution, who among these people at least represents 60, 70, 80% of that. We are not looking for somebody who is 100%. But within those values that Nigeria espouses, of fairness, of integrity, of justice, of capacity, of honesty, lack of corruption, all those things attached to people that you know that they are against our national values. Those people who have demonstrated, who have not lived to that, they should not be elected. But because of lack of political education, fools elect the people like them.
Well, some other people also say corruption and poverty is also part of what they've used weaponized to get people elected. But let's move away from that. I just, you talked about getting the leadership right from the tender age now, from probably secondary school, primary school, prefects, trying to groom them, nurture them and monitor them effectively. That is an aspect. Now, for this generation, I don't know if you've observed, in fact it's everywhere, most of these young jabs really tend to look into another direction. Now, make money very fast. Making money very fast, trying to engage in vices here and there. Social media is also a very strong tool that has influenced them in some other parts, positively and negatively. How do you attach or get their attention and get a right leadership structure in Nigeria? And how many years will it take us to get it right as a country?
No time limit. As long as they're human beings, you need leaders. Now, when I say, or quoting what John Maxwell said, that everything rises and falls on leadership. If you have a leader, for instance, who understands that grooming, preparation is important, that leader looks forward the next 40 years, the next 30 years. Those people who are in secondary school right now, where will they be in the next 5 years? Where will they be in the next 10 years? Where will they be in the next 20 years? You begin to think about it. You prepare them, begin to inject them. That's why people go to school. Primary, secondary, university. You prepare them for what? To serve the public, so they can be useful to society. The same way people go through secondary school, preparing them for public life, is the same way you prepare people for public service. Public service, I mean public leadership. So we don't do that. We don't prepare people for public leadership.
So a good leader must have a plan of 40 50.
Yes, to prepare people. Deliberate. Leadership cultivation is deliberate. It's a culture. You culture it. You build it. It's a trajectory. You work on it. If you don't do that, what you put in is what you get. If you put nothing, you get nothing. That's the way it works. The young people are doing what they're because they don't have direction. If government provides them direction, like I said, when I say government, through private sector, individual providing quality leadership, they will, even though they'll always be, they're bad, but the majority will tend towards the positive if the leadership shows the capacity, the example that this is the right way. The people we have had in leadership right now are people who show the wrong examples.
But is it fair for the young people to now say probably our forefathers or our fathers have failed us? Because you said a good leader should also project 50 years. Now Nigeria is how old now? We're above 50. Is it fair enough to say we have our forefathers or our fathers have failed us in this leadership?
Yes, we can say that without any sense of flinching or yes, they have failed us, or they did fail us, because they did not have this mindset I'm talking about. If they had this mindset I'm talking about and began to work on it, we would not be where we are. But having said that, question is, now that we've come to realize that this is where we are, what do we do?
So what do we do?
What we do is to begin to take pragmatic steps to raise new generation. I don't have much hope in whoever becomes the next president. Not because in terms of automatic radical transformation. Human beings are not built overnight. Human beings are built over time. So if the leadership that comes in now has this mindset, begins to lay the foundation for it, lay the structure for it, create values, create systems that make it possible. Creating systems that make this impossible is what will drive it. Right now, there are no systems to drive what I'm talking about. If you have the educational system that will drive it, it will work. It's a matter of time. You can't harvest this tomorrow. The people you begin to groom today, you harvest them in the next 20 years. In 1999, I listened to a message spoken by late General Garba. And he said it will take Nigeria 25 years to become a full-blown democracy. And I listened to him make that statement in Abuja here during the Mohammed memorial service for late Mohammed, former president or former head of state. Okay. He said it will take Nigeria 25 years to become a full-fledged democracy. Why? Because he knows that democracy is a culture. It takes time to culture people to understand the rule, the civil life. Because before them, people have lived in a life of military. You give it to me, I give it to you. If you like it, you don't. That's it. But now, democracy is about culturing people to learn how to live in a civil environment. That I don't have to fight, that I must discuss, I must dialogue. If I don't like something, I don't have to carry arms and kill people. I have to dialogue, engage with people, discuss it with them. Now, it takes time to culture people in this direction. The people who came into politics in 1999 are people who have military background.
Yes.
So they came with force. They still don't even know how to talk. They abuse each other indiscriminately. You don't do that. If someone is not doing something right, tell them what is right and move on. So you see the politicians, everybody calling themselves names, is because their mentality is the mentality of the old. So what I'm saying, therefore, is that it still take us time to culture a generation that will begin to be democratic in mindset and in practice.
But it's not going to be just a one-day process. It's
No.
going to take us more time. Thank you so much. Leadership is a process. Thank you so much once again for being part of this conversation. A lot of questions I want to ask, but time will not permit us. My producer is already saying it's time to go. Probably we'll also have another conversation another time. We've been having a smooth conversation with Abuja-based leadership consultant, Dr. Joseph C. IBEKWE. Thank you once again for joining us on the program.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
And I believe that Nigeria will get it right this time.
We'll get it right.
All right, that is the package on today's edition of Straight Talk right here on Bright Television, home of talk and entertainment. Like I always tell you, I keep telling you, when you play your part, I play my part, we have a better place called the Federal Republic of Nigeria. On behalf of everybody that's been part of the production, those behind the scene, like Jimmy for this, for facilitating this production, thank you so much once again. My name is Ayobami. God bless you. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Goodbye.
Tell you for a fact that this election is between
They sold farm recently for 100 million.
There's no meaningful development that can happen without peace, without us being united.
Arrest all unregistered vehicles.
I think we have shown the depth and breadth of talent in our Conservative Party.
Because you want to prevent a situation whereby that powdering substance will be flushed immediately.